Being the bank, you're a lot more secured than any other investor because you're the last one into the deal, but always the first one out. And you're on the highest part of the capital stack because of that.
If you're finding value in what you're watching, consider hitting the subscribe button and turning on the bell notification. Oh, and don't forget to drop a comment. I love hearing your thoughts and ideas. By the way, we have got a ton of other videos waiting for you. And if you are ready to level up your mindset, come hang out with us in our private Facebook group called Mindset for Business Success. Welcome back, everyone. This is Shahid Durrani, your host of Super Entrepreneurs Podcast. Today we have with us Ruben Izgelov, a real estate expert with more than a decade of experience flipping, developing, financing over 500 million in deals, and co-founder of States Capital and We Lend. Ruben allows investors to earn stable returns without taking the risk of owning physical real estate. Today, we are diving into that along with his thoughts on the future of real estate financing. Ruben, thanks for joining us, my friend.
It's a pleasure to be here, Shahid. Thank you so much for having me on as a guest. And I look forward to not only this episode, but many more episodes to come.
Yes, thank you so much. And welcome to the family.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's great. So private lending seems to be growing in popularity, especially with the banks making it super difficult for dreamers to dream and to create. Private lending comes in as a superhero, helping people in different aspects. Obviously, it costs more, but you hear stories of people's lives completely shifting by that one person that believed in them or trusted them to provide their money, even though they paid a lot for it. That injection helped them go to that next step to continue that journey. So what would you say are the biggest reasons investors and developers are choosing lenders like We Lend compared to traditional banks? I know we talked about it a little bit here, but what is your deep sense of that?
So look, I think it's necessity. I think it is one necessity, and also it's just convenience. To your point about that one investor or person who invested into you in the beginning that really helped you take things to the next level, that was actually my private lender many years ago when we were buying, selling, flipping, developing real estate for quite some time before we founded We Lend.
It's like I read your mind.
Yeah, I don't know how. You're probably like Elon Musk with the Neuralinks or whatever it is that you're doing out there, but getting there. So our private lender at that time was a older gentleman who's actually an investor in our fund today, and we've become very good friends. He lent us money on our first acquisition in Brooklyn, New York. And that was one of the most successful acquisitions I've had. I've tried to repeat that over and over again, but I guess it was just God's blessing for at that time. So it's hard to repeat that same deal. But nevertheless, it was a deal where we purchased for several $100,000. It was about $260,000 acquisition. We've put another $200,000 into renovation. And then we ultimately flipped that property for about $1.4 million. So we made nearly $1 million just on our first buying, selling, flipping, developing real estate. And that was all because our private lender at the time really trusted us and invested into us. Clearly, that came at a much greater premium than, say, going to a conventional lender or another lender that like a regional bank. But the reason why we went to this private lender was, like I said in the beginning, necessity, right? The property that we were buying in Brooklyn, it was in really bad shape. The property was uninhabitable. Although there was people living in it, I don't know how. It was just not mortgageable. So that's one. That's one of the reasons why a lot of our investors or borrowers rather borrow from us, is because the properties that they're buying are really in bad condition and they just can't get a mortgage on it. Secondly, it's because the investor himself needs to close very quickly. There are times, totally. Like there are times where investors call us on a Monday or a Sunday. I had a call just last night, Sunday, saying, hey, I got to close this deal by Tuesday. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I got a steep discount only because I told them I'll close by Tuesday or Wednesday, the latest. As a private lender, we have the capacity and the flexibility to move very fast. Yesterday, I already ordered an appraisal Yesterday, we already got our inspectors out to the property. They're actually going there. They're actually there today, right now, inspecting the property, making sure that it's something that we're willing to invest our hard-earned money in, our investors' hard-earned money in. But the bottom line is that speed is another reason why they come to us, right? They need to close quickly. If you go to a bank, Chase Bank, Wells Fargo, or a regional bank, wherever you're located, you're looking at least a 90-day to 120-day close, right? Sometimes even longer than that. So that's another reason why a lot of borrowers use this. But also, it could be that they're not mortgageable, right? The investor themselves, like a lot of our investors, there are experienced full-time operators. They don't have a W-2 job. They don't have perfect tax returns. And sometimes they don't have the perfect credit. Their credit might be at 640, 650. We're okay with that because we're not really lending to the borrower. We are. Obviously, there's a principle behind the entity that we lend on, but we're really looking and focusing on the collateral, right?
On the property.
So our focus is, of course, there's a large
good
borrower and the principal, but the main focus is the collateral, because at the end of the day, while all of our loans are personally guaranteed by each and every borrower, the asset is really our kind of go-to in the event of a default. I would say those are the main reasons why borrowers come to us, because of the speed, because of the type of properties we lend on, and the flexibility to be able to get things done, regardless of what your personal status may be at that specific time.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful answer. Thank you, Ruben. I love the detail because you made it very clear to people why do people choose private, even though it's so expensive. So that clarity was very important as we continue this conversation. And that part about you saying that $1 million that you received, even though you paid a lot for it, changed your life. Yeah. And then that feeling is when you made that profit, it created something very special in your body, in your existence, where you started creating this more solid belief in what is possible. And that also, that power, that energy, that power behind you, that you went and you started trying to multiply that same idea, but still, as you zoom out, looking down, you could still see the success is obvious. Can you say that energy increase of how you felt had something to do with the success from that point on? And also, if you had that before starting your journey, how would that outcome also reflect?
I think you hit it on the head. I think prior to this deal in Brooklyn that I mentioned at the start of this episode, was we weren't doing well financially. Right before that, I don't want to say I got swindled out of my life savings, but I went into a partnership where the other partner wasn't entirely honest, and
it happens a lot.
It happens, and I was foolish and gullible to go on a handshake deal. But it taught me a very valuable lesson.
All lessons.
It was a handshake. Oh yeah, it was a handshake deal. I was supposed to get X, he was supposed to get Y, and when the deal did come to fruition, I got almost nothing. Right?
Was it a family friend?
It was a family and childhood friend, you could say. It wasn't my childhood friend, but he was a family's childhood friend. But nevertheless,
close enough.
It was someone that I really trusted, and it was a very valuable lesson. So it really set us back to a point where I lost about $400,000 at that time. I had $6,000 in my bank, and I was 6 months behind on my rent. So I was really down on my last limb, you can say. But thankfully, I had a very good support system. I had good friends, really good friends that really believed in me, that trusted in me. And when I came to them and told them the situation, they were all open to writing me a check just to help me support myself for the next few months. And believe it or not, those same friends are actually friends that borrow from us today. But the world is just, it's round, right? So like you help them out just as they've helped you. And I've always had this conversation with them about, hey, you gave me that support system. But at that specific moment, to your question, before I purchased this property in Brooklyn, in terms of confidence, I did not have the confidence to move on, right? I really didn't. I had the motivation to move on, but I just didn't feel confident in the ability to be able to recuperate and make the money back, right? I was just like, shoot, I lost everything. And I was young. I was in my early 20s. But nevertheless, you lose that confidence the one thing that you do have is your motivation, your drive, your support system. And I think at that moment, when I did close that deal and we were able to cash in our chips, you can say, and we had that almost $1 million come into our account, man, it was a huge weight off your chest, right? Like, it's like, shit, oh, forgive me, but you made it. Like, you did it. You did it. You recuperated the money. I don't know why. I just relived that moment. It felt great. Thank you so much for bringing that up. I just relived that moment.
I want you to relive it for this episode, actually. Everything, for me, everything is energy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So it was a huge boost of confidence. It also gave us the ability to start focusing on the future, the roadmap. Where do we go? How do we do it? How do we get there? And so on. And this has been, almost 15 years now, right? That this happened. And thankfully, who would have ever known that we would be a private lender, that we would be very active real estate investors, developers for so many years. And hindsight is 2020, but I would have never thought in my early 20s that I would be sitting here talking about the amount of money we've deployed. And today it's nearly $600 million across 1,300 asset classes, right? Nationwide. We're not just talking about New York. We're talking about the entire nation, right? We've made loans in states that I've never been to, right? Alabama, Alaska, Hawaii. I should be in Hawaii, but I haven't been to Hawaii yet. I haven't been to Alabama and Alaska for all the right reasons. In states that I've never stepped my foot into, and yet we've made loans there. We've transformed lives there. We've improved people there. We've improved neighborhoods, cities, people's livelihood. And I'm so thankful to be in a business where I can help people, just like people have helped me. I have borrowers that call me from time in, time out, thanking me. The same way as I thanked my private lender many years ago in this Brooklyn deal. I called them and I said, hey, thank you so much for trusting me. Thank you so much for obviously charging me all this interest. But hey, you gave me the confidence back. And
that means nothing. Yeah. With a big grand scheme of things, that means nothing.
Oh, yeah. The interest that we paid him, I think it was peanuts compared to what we've earned. So,
it's all ROI. That's wonderful, because what I was trying to get at or understand is that where you were on that level when major advancement happened in your life, and then also where you were before it happened. So I was connecting that feeling. Imagine if you had that feeling that you're going to make complete confidence, complete knowing, complete faith, and you're with that energy feeling that you're already a success. And if you just bring yourself back to that time, can you see how much more you would do as like you wouldn't, it wouldn't be a very low type of effort. It would be a very high intensity sense of urgency, because you're so excited and enthusiastic about making things happen. And it changes the dynamics of you as an entrepreneur when you think and feel something powerful, even though you might not be in the physical reality, how it shifts your results. That was where I was taking this.
Totally. I think you hit it on the head. Look, I am naturally a very cautious person. I'm not a risk taker. A lot of my friends know me for that I am not a risk taker. A lot of my friends are really big risk takers. Some have done extraordinary well, and some have done really bad, right? Because they've just risked all their life savings into deals and they really lost everything. And they'll recuperate it back, and they've done well for themselves as well. But I am a very cautious person. I like to cross every T. I like to dot every I. And I think that I'm also an attorney, right? I don't practice because WeLend is all I really do, but I'm also an attorney. And going through law school, you are taught, for a person that's already cautious naturally, in law school, they teach you to be paranoid, you can say. And the reason why is because as an attorney, your brain is supposed to be wired to protect the downside. You protect the downside, you protect the downside, you protect the downside, right? At all times, you put in the clauses and things into your contract to be able to protect your clients, and you protect the downside. So me being naturally cautious, me being an attorney going through law school and this whole career in law school, 4 years or what have you, you come out of there like a paranoid freak, right? You come out of there, okay, how do I protect the downside? What do I do to make sure that I'm okay? So I think one of the things that I failed to recognize, to your point, was that if you think good, you will do good, right? And I have this one deal where recently I was supposed to actually not get this deal done. And I don't know what happened, but something was just like, I'm going to get this deal done. I don't care what. Everyone is saying I'm not going to get it done, but I'm going to get it done. And I had no idea how to get it done. I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I called my broker. I'm like, listen, man, we got to get this deal done. And he's like, Ruben, there's no chance. It's not happening. It's just not going to sell for what you want. And I'm just like, look, you believe in God? I believe in God. I'm like, I believe in God too. I just lost my dad at the time.
Do
so
it.
I'm like, really religious. I'm like, you're going to get this done. I have faith in you. You got time. Figure it out. Hung up the phone. 2 weeks later, he calls me, says, Ruben, we got it. We got what you wanted. And the deal was getting done. And exactly where I wanted the deal to land is exactly where it landed. I think to your point, it's all about positive energy. It's all about thinking positive. It's all about doing good things. And I think it always comes back around. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Ruben, you said it so nicely, man. And it really, at the end of the day, you mentioned some of the friends that lost everything, that once you have the right mindset, you can lose everything multiple times. You always find yourself to where you're programmed to be. That's for sure. Like, you're just always show up there. But we're trying to make it much bigger. So when we're trying to make it to get to where, that's why I feel like taking risk is good, because it puts you in that area where you can actually develop and grow and learn to expand yourself. And God forbid, if you do obviously lose stuff, you always find yourself back to where you're programmed to be, and then grow from there. But anyways, taking those chances, taking those beliefs that you have in yourself, those thoughts and those feelings that create the energy in your body through your central nervous system, you're going at it because having that faith and belief that it's going to be okay in the big grand scheme of things, not based on just this one little thing. It's very minute. And when we look at life like that, we start making things happen more often. It's like the art of being lucky at the end of the day is how you're thinking, how you're feeling, and then how you're acting, is being having that self-awareness. And you said it beautifully. Thank you so much for that, Ruben.
Yeah, appreciate it.
And another question I have is that, well, I know we talked about a lot of other things. I'm sure it's going to add value to people that are listening and watching, but could you explain the capital stack? How does it help protect investors' money and also giving them a solid return? That part, can you elaborate quickly?
Yeah, of course. Thankfully today, and again, going back to what I was mentioning, like I would have never thought I'd be doing what I'm doing today and where I'm at today, but everything just works in its natural form. But today we do manage a 506c Reg D. It's an exemption through it's a private debt fund. Essentially, we have a lot of entrepreneurs, high net worth, ultra high net worth investors who are busy with their day-to-day job. These are attorneys, they are architects, they are doctors, entrepreneurs who really just want to be able to deploy and invest their hard-earned money. Some of them actually are borrowers. They're real estate investors. They want to invest their hard-earned money into real estate, but they just don't have the time to be able to manage the real estate. Some of them own real estate, or they did own real estate, and they're just so fed up with having to deal with tenants, deal with the construction, deal with Department of Buildings, all that comes with owning real estate. So a lot of our investors today, they don't want to be landlords. They want to be lenders. And that's what we provide to them today, is the option of being a lender versus being a landlord. So our investors, they invest into our fund, which makes a portfolio of loans. All of our loans are first lien positions, collateralized by real estate, personally guaranteed by each and every borrower at a very low and conservative leverage. All of our borrowers are coming in with equity into the deal. They're experienced operators who are buying properties at a huge discount because they're able to close within 2 or 3 days. They're buying properties that are uninhabitable. They are really bad shape. They're able to buy these properties at a huge and steep discount because of their position in the deal. And we give them a percentage of their discounted purchase price. So essentially, our investors are very secured in the sense that we're giving them a percentage of the purchase price that is already discounted from the as-is value. And we are first lien position, which means that a lot of our borrowers, they're using also investors that are investing with them. into the deals, and these investors are coming in with the equity, and our investors are coming in with the debt. The beautiful part about us being debt providers is that we're the last one into the deal, but we're the first ones out, which means that being the last one in, that means the borrower has already done their due diligence. They made sure that the deal is vetted, it makes sense, but they're also the first ones to put their money in. Now we're the last ones out, which means the first ones out. What that really means is that before anyone takes out a penny of their money, we as lenders are repaid first. Look, I'll use myself as an example. We're
It's
recording in my home.
structured that way.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
recording in my home. I have a mortgage on my property. Tomorrow, if I choose to sell my property and buy another house, before I take out my blood, sweat, and tears, my equity in my home, I got to pay off my bank first. So being a investor in a debt fund, you are the bank, right?
You are the
And
bank. Yeah.
being the bank, you're a lot more secured than any other investor because you're the last one into the deal, but always the first one out. And you're on the highest part of the capital stack because of that.
I like that. So the state startup is about bringing in the money, and the we lend is about providing that money to private lenders or private people that need private money. Okay. A very good ecosystem.
To borrow. Yeah. Thank God. Thank God.
Yeah, no, it's good. Obviously, real estate is unpredictable, and it can be, if you do your analysis, like you said, if you cross your T's, dot your I's properly, you should be pretty secure. But is there anything that investors should look at to feel more secure during, say, volatile times?
So that's when it's the best time to really invest into debt, in my opinion, right? When the market is uncertain. In fact, a lot of our borrowers, when there was uncertainty in the market, when the rates were going up, they were on the sidelines because they just didn't know exactly where the market was going. So they had a lot of equity that was sitting in their bank, and they just didn't know how to deploy it because they were afraid to buy real estate. So what they were doing was actually investing into our funds for us to be able to deploy it. And that's the beauty about uncertain markets, right? Uncertainty in the markets is knowing exactly where to invest into. So I feel like being a debt provider, being a lender, being that it's a natural kind of secure position in the capital stack is really the best time to really invest into vehicles like ours is during uncertain markets. And that's only because you're able to get high yielding returns, monthly cash flows, first lien positions, personally guaranteed by the borrowers, collateralized by real estate with about 40% of equity into the deal by being a lender, regardless of whether the market is certain or uncertain. That's what a lot of our investors like, is they like to invest into our vehicles. They don't want to have to manage the real estate. They don't want to have to deal with tenants or anything to that effect. They just want to be able to get, as they say, mailbox money, right?
What mailbox money?
Yeah.
What kind of percentage is it, the return?
So today it depends on the investment amount, but it's anywhere between about 11 to 13% on an annualized basis with monthly deposits directly to the bank.
That doesn't go. All of it doesn't go to the investor that's putting in money to states.
Oh, it's net to the investor.
So no, for example, if somebody puts in $100K into this company to utilize that money as a bank to other people that need money, will they be receiving for that $100K 11, 13%?
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly. Good. So all that money that they invest into gets deployed into.
So you take a fee.
We do take a fee. So our fund makes between, I would say, about 15 to 18% on an annualized basis. And that nets to the investor about 11 to 13%. Really depends on their investment amount. We have Class A, B, and C shares. So it really depends on their investment amount, but it usually lands anywhere between 11 to 13%.
Wonderful, Ruben. We try to keep our episodes up to maximum 30 minutes. That's where people are enjoying our show the most. One other question I want to ask you is, the clients that you work with, can they be from outside of US on both sides, investing and money requirements?
So investing, the answer is yes. To lend outside of the US, it's not something that we do. We only lend to
inside US to build a portfolio, but they're not a US citizen.
So we would want them, if it's a foreign national, the answer is yes. High level answer is yes, but we would want them to have some kind of tax ID number or something that we can work with in the event of a default. So The high-level answer is yes. If they want to borrow from us as a foreign national, it's something that we can do, but the asset always has to be in the U.S.
That's what I mean. So if the asset is in U.S., it has a good cash flow analysis to back it up. You're lending on the property, right? So if, say, a Canadian becomes friends with you and says, "Let's get some money going for this project," will you mostly be looking at the property? And then what are the the requirements for the foreign national is to make sure the property's in the U.S., number one. And what are the other ones?
So one, we always check their credit, right? So being that
credit,
they're a
number
foreign
two.
national, they may not have a social security. We would want to see their tax ID number. There's something to be able to tie them to the U.S. Now, in the event that they don't have credit or anything to that effect, which mostly they won't if they're foreign nationals, we just will be very conservatively leveraged, which means that they'll just have to come in with more dollars to the closing versus us having to give them a lot of money. We'll just give them, we'll still finance it for them, but we'll just want them to have more equity and skin in the game. Right. Today, the average skin or leverage to the borrower is right around 70%, which means that the borrowers are coming at around 30% of equity into the deal. For a foreign national, would probably be at about 50%. So the foreign national, the investor would have to come in with at least 50% of the equity into the deal.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Ruben. It was great talking to you. Appreciate your time today and wishing you all the success. Keep helping others grow.
Amen. Amen to that. And you as well. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing. I've listened to some of your podcasts last night. You're doing an amazing job. Keep it up. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much.